Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Straight Outta BS podcast. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. Just a quick reminder, anything you do to interact with the video really helps the algorithm. We are not in the main algorithm. This is looked at as a taboo topic. Not many people want this. I don't know why people don't want more, um, eyes on this, the troubled teen industry and just abuse and foster care system and all of that. But for some reason, the algorithm doesn't like to push it, whether that be people with big pockets and a lot of money that just don't want to silence creators that talk about stuff like this. I don't know. But interacting with the video in any way really helps push this out into the algorithm, shows it to new people. It shows up in like the For You feed. If you watch YouTube regularly, then you know that when you first open the YouTube page, there's a For You page and like a For You feed that kind of shows like maybe new creators and stuff like that based off your interests. So it'll appear in places like that, just to give you guys a quick rundown for that. So anything you interact to do with the interacting with the video helps show YouTube that you're interacting with the video, you're interested. If you're watching the videos, try to watch them all the way through, or just like pause it and then take a break and then like watch it, because when you YouTube looks at all that, like the algorithm looks at all that, sees how long you watched, like until you clicked off, if you watched all the way through. And the more people that watch all the way through and whatnot, it'll push it in the algorithm more. Sorry if that's a little bit complex, but it's kind of complex for me still learning the algorithm and how to get my podcast out there and get more eyes on this. It's a little bit frustrating, but not with you guys at all. It's just like the back end of YouTube is just like there's the customer service is pretty much non-existent. You talk to a computer, so I mean, like, it's just been a little bit difficult to get this off the ground. So thanks everybody for interacting with the video and doing all that. I know that we've had an uptick. I made an announcement on Facebook saying, if you guys if you guys support my work or whatever, you could really help by, even just playing the videos in the background. Like if you've seen the videos already, just leave them playing in the background to get those numbers up. Cause I'm just really passionate about this. And just for the record, like, it's not about money. It's literally like this, like the activism only works as much as the eyes are on it. You know what I mean? So the more eyes we have on this, the more activism I could potentially do and the more people we can reach. Maybe prevent kids from being sent there in the first place. So don't mean to start on like a whole tangent there, but yeah, just thanks to anybody that's interacted with the videos, and please continue to do so. It's showing up in the algorithm and the analytics. So thank you guys all for that. Thanks to my Patreon members. Thanks for anybody that's donated financially. Like I said, this isn't about money, but anytime that somebody donates, I try to invest that somewhat, 3/4 of it or whatnot, at least, back into the podcast and, just making it better and stuff like that. So thanks to anybody that's donated on Patreon. You're really from the bottom of my heart. That really means a lot. It's not expected. So thank you guys for that. I want to do a moment of silence for the person still struggling with intrusive thoughts or addiction or anything like that. So on the count of three, I'm going to do a moment of silence. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you for that. And without further ado, I want to go ahead and introduce my guest for the day. Go ahead and introduce yourself and where you went and what years.
Hi, my name is Lorraine. I went to Cross Creek Manor in Laverkin, Utah for 16 months. I'm a little fuzzy on the dates because I don't have a good memory of everything. It was pretty traumatizing, but from about 2001 to 2003.
Okay. And can you hear me all right? Does the audio
Yeah.
seem to be?
How's my audio? Am I good?
Yeah, you're good too.
Okay.
Okay. Walk us through what happened, like your childhood and what led up to being sent away.
Yeah, sure. So, really, things were okay until maybe when I was about 8 years old, and we moved to Colorado from Florida. It was a really big change, a huge adjustment in my life, and left a lot of family behind. And we were pretty isolated. My family of four. It was my two parents and my brother, and it just was all downhill from there. Basically, I started getting bullied at school, being the new kid. I was a little bit more overweight than some of the kids at school. I was a little bigger. And things just kind of escalated. I had a really dysfunctional family, and forgive me, I'm still kind of working through a lot of that trauma. I'm 37 years old, and this stuff stems back to when I was, you know, 10 and 9 and so forth. So I'm a little fuzzy on some details, but basically, there was a lot of physical abuse from my parents, a lot of psychological abuse. I suspect they had some narcissistic tendencies. To this day, I'm a nurse, and I kind of look things up in the DSM because I like to be evidence based, and I do see a lot of boxes checked there with their behavior. And I also experienced a lot of not belonging with my brother. And so getting bullied at school and then not belonging at home and facing that kind of physical abuse, I felt like I had nowhere to belong whatsoever. And so I really started acting out. And it wasn't any sort of normal teenage thing. This started in adolescence. You name it. I was starting fires. I was getting expelled from the whole school district, not just from one school, but the whole district because I was getting in fights and oh God, what else was I doing? Just getting into all kind of mischief because I was so angry at just not belonging anywhere, sick of being bullied, sick of being abused. And uh, eventually I went and lived with my grandparents for a long time. But leading up to the program, yeah, I was kicked out of school. I went to a special school called Managed Adolescent Care for all the misfit kids that got kicked out. So it was pretty serious stuff going on, and inpatient stays for suicidality, suicide attempts, and even eating disorders and stuff. So, and I was put on lots of medications really young. I mean, as young as I think like 10 or 11, I started Prozac, which I think was really unhealthy for me. And there's no longitudinal studies on such things. So I questioned how that impacted me going forward, even biologically, you know?
Were you ever 5150, like against your will to go into a inpatient?
Yeah, I had to have a 72-hour hold on
Yep.
me for
Yep.
suicide attempts a few different times. Yeah, and it was horrifying. I mean, and I would tell them about the abuse I was facing at home. I mean, there was a time where my father beat the hell out of me just simply for asking for more allowance because I wanted, and back in the day it was all about CDs. You could
Oh
buy
yeah.
CDs for music. And so I just wanted to get more allowance so I could buy a CD every so often. And
Yeah.
I would get the hell beaten out of me and then told that I was ungrateful and that I was a slut. And I never even kissed a boy at this point. And so, yeah, I faced so much abuse and it was just absolutely horrifying. And I had planned to run away. And that was a lot of what prompted my parents to send me away, is because I was really planning that to go off on my own at what, 12 or 13.
Did you tell them that? How did they find out you're planning on running away?
I think they found out through listening to my phone calls because back in the day we had landlines with corded
Yeah.
phones to the wall, so they could pick
Yeah.
up downstairs and
Third
hear what I
line,
was
yeah.
saying to my friends. Yeah, and I also was really vocal at my school that I went to, the managed adolescent care. I would straight up tell my therapist like, "Yeah, I'm gonna run away." And the other day I brought rum in my thermos to school. And I was 12 years old acting like that. So I mean, my behavior it was really out of hand for sure.
Okay. And so what happened when you got sent away? How did that whole thing transpire?
Oof. So I got blindsided. I had no idea that I was going to get sent to such a drastic place. I mean, I got, forgive me, I'm shaking a little bit because it's a
Oh,
lot. But basically, what happened was my parents hired a transport service like many of the other people. And in the middle of the night, I think I was 13. I just turned 13. And they came in, flipped on the lights, and my parents weren't there. It was just two people I didn't know. And so I was really freaked out thinking I was actually being kidnapped, like that there were intruders in the home.
yeah.
And it was, and I was fighting them. I don't remember if they handcuffed me or not. But I remember fighting them, cussing them out. Get the f off me, f you. And they forced me. They brought me down the stairs to some car, got me in the back of this thing, and I fought tooth and nail. Um, but my father, my biological father, I don't like calling him a father because we're completely estranged, and he's really betrayed me in a lot of ways. But
Yeah.
basically, like it's sunk in that, like, oh, this wasn't an intruder. This is my parents did this because he's like, oh, you're gonna go away, and he was really tearful. He's like, you're going away. You're gonna go do ninth grade at a program. I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm crying, and yeah, it was a really, really dramatic, awful situation. Yeah. And the whole ride there from Colorado to Utah, I didn't say a word to those people. I was so terrified at what they would do or what would happen. I was scared to even tell them that I was hungry or thirsty. So hours and hours drive, I didn't say, I couldn't mutter a word. I was so terrified.
Okay. And what do you remember about when you first got there?
When I first got there, I remember like going up some stairs and going into a room where there was like a really large female staff member, and there were a lot of kids in different color shirts. Um, it's a little fuzzy and foggy. A lot of my memories of it are disjointed and just like flashes of things, and a lot of it didn't even occur to me until years later, like in flashbacks. But basically, I get there, and there, I remember a lot. They were like combing through my hair. I had gotten this perm, and like there was like a knot in my head, and oh god, did they yank it? And they accused me of having like tried to put dreadlocks in my hair and stating that they might have to shave my head or something. Horrifying for me. Didn't want to lose all my hair. Fortunately, they were able to comb it out through a long process, but it was awful. And I was just crying and scared and just wanting to talk to my parents. Um, and I don't remember getting like any kind of rule book, but I had to get a hope buddy, and I had to go to worksheets right out the gate.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, listen to these tapes about Heathcliff and all these books and fill out these multiple guest answer sheets and whatever. And yeah, that's what I remember about first getting there. I don't remember like a really formal orientation, just kind of like a horrifying stripping you of everything, and here you go.
Yeah.
Here's where you are.
Okay. And what family were you in when you first got there? Do you remember?
Yeah, I was in H group, and my therapist's name at the time was Corey. Um, yeah, and then after that, I went to North Campus once I got to upper levels, and I was in C group with Ron June.
Okay. And let's see. What do you How long after you got there did they put you through your first seminar? And what was your first seminar? Was it orientation or discovery, or do you remember?
Yeah, I vaguely remember. So I ended up going to Discovery. I don't remember like an orientation much other than like the things my Hope Buddy would explain, all the just weird, strict, nitpicky rules. I mean, anything from burping was a category and you're in trouble. Um, but yeah, I went to Discovery. I don't remember how long it took, maybe months, maybe probably months. Yeah, I went to Discovery.
Okay. And what year was it when you went there, when you got sent there? Do you remember?
2001 or 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so did you choose out of discovery or did you have to go through it multiple times?
No, I got through Discovery, and I got through all the other ones too. I got through Focus, Accountability, whatever keys and
Yep, keys.
Parent Child, all of that. I did all of them on the first time,
Okay. Okay.
which I basically knew that I had to fall in line when I first got there because of the way that Ron Garrett spoke to me. Uh, so I just tried to do whatever and say whatever to just get the fuck out of there.
Yeah. Do you remember what he said to you exactly?
Yeah. So I get there and I'm like, when am I going to talk to my parents? Because I was ready to just tell them, look, okay, hey, I'll quit with the antics. Just let me come home.
Yeah.
Fuck this. This is awful.
Yeah.
I'm so far away. Holy shit. This place is insane. I wanted to tell them everything, that like, do you realize where you brought me? Do you know what's happening here? And he said, you're not talking to them and you're not going to talk to them. There's no child protection laws where you could be sent. We could send you to Jamaica. We could send you to Mexico. If you try to run away, we're in Laverkin, Utah. The polygamists will get you. We can't guarantee what will happen
Yeah.
to you then. So it was a lot of fear tactics, and they told me I had no rights. Because I was ready to say that, like, hey, fuck you, I have rights. Because I mean, I was a kid that cussed at cops. I was 12 and I told a cop, fuck you. Like, I was ready to tell this guy, hey, fuck you. I'm gonna tell my parents all this shit and I'm getting out of here. But he's just like, nope, you have no rights and you're not gonna talk to him. And then it was just like hit me that like, oh, I better just get out of here as best I can.
Yeah. Okay. Then, do you remember your I am statement or your purpose statement? So like I am and da 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 da, and then my purpose is to da 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 da.
Yeah, it's so cringy. I hate to even remember it. So I had to make like a card too that said it on there.
Yeah. Me too. Yeah.
Sorry, I got
I
the
actually have
shakes.
mine right there in the middle of the. It's right there,
Oh
middle at the
wow.
top. Yeah. That's my
Wow.
I am statement. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think mine might be in a sticker collection that I had because that was like the only thing I could have there was like a big book of stickers once I got to upper levels. But it was I am a beautiful, strong, worthy, carefree, magical child.
Okay.
Just jargon from the program. And then I don't remember like my purpose statement or whatever,
Okay.
but yeah, I remember that.
Do you remember what your stretch was in focus?
Yeah, I had to do Cindy Lauper, Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
Okay. Yeah, I was Ricky Martin Living La Vida logo, which is very ironic because I started using hard drugs when I got out of the program. It's like I really was living La Vida. You predicted the future. You predicted the future. You know?
Right. Very prophetic of them, I guess, setting you up for failure, I would imagine.
Yeah. Um. Okay. So you said about 2 months before you went through your first seminar. Did you spend any time in intervention?
No, I didn't have anything like that or any term like that, but I had to do a thing called a therapeutic process, if you can call it that, called the desert, wherein it was silence on steroids. Basically, I was not allowed to talk to anybody, including teachers. Did not get therapy sessions. Could not talk to my parents anymore, which I didn't even talk to them for like months when I got there. Didn't wasn't able to talk at all. Um, and so with the desert, it was you couldn't even draw attention to yourself. You couldn't do any activities. You had to it was like, if I could describe it, it's like a functional isolation. So like you're still with everybody, you're still in your groups, you're still going to all the things that your whole group is doing, lunch, group therapy, PE class, but you can't draw attention to yourself, anything. You can't do any activities, you can't write, you can't read, you can't talk, don't look at anybody in the eye. And all the other girls were instructed that if I did anything to draw attention to myself, to inform my therapist, I'd get written up, I would get berated in group. Uh, so it was fucking horrible to do that in your formative years. And it was for a long period of time. It was endless. I don't remember exactly how long, but it was for a long time, for months. And I don't even know why. Like I don't get it. I don't know why they did that to me. I was complying with all the rules and whatever, doing all the therapist things, doing these 10,000 word essays they made me do. for whatever reason, they stripped me of my privileges. I never understood it. It's a horrible form of abuse, though, and you know, I don't condone that for anybody. I think that's, especially during their formative years, it was completely damaging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you didn't do anything particular to get on put on that. They just did it randomly then?
Yeah, yeah. I don't remember like doing anything really egregious or getting in trouble. It was just something they did, like to just knock me down a peg, I guess, so that I wasn't progressing the same way. I never understood that.
Okay.
And there's just no way that that's like a evidence-based treatment modality for a 13-year-old. There's no way that that's something they're teaching professionals in schools like, hey, if you got a kid that's complying in your weird program, put them in the desert. Like it
Yeah.
just doesn't seem advised at all or indicated.
Yeah, I agree. How long were you there total?
16 months.
Okay. And did you graduate?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. And let's see. What do you remember them doing like having you did you have to do a trail of lights thing? Like was there a graduation ceremony at the end of your when you graduated from the program? Like did they do like a ceremony thing there?
Yeah, there was like a big seminar thing with a lot of other kids from other programs too, and it was in California if I remember correctly. And I don't remember a
You're
lights
thinking
thing.
about PC3, right? Parent-child
Yeah,
service 3? Yeah.
yeah, I believe so. Yeah,
Hmm.
if I'm correct on that. Yeah, it was a big seminar and with like dinners, you know, we had good dinners, but I don't remember any kind of like lights ritual or anything like that.
It's very, very crazy because the program I went to, Spring Creek Lodge Academy, seems to be the only program that did this like what they call Trail of Lights, which is like essentially a graduation ceremony for people that were graduating from the program that were going home. So usually you'd be going home within a week of you doing this process. It was supposed to be like a goodbye thing. You're saying goodbye to all your connections there and whatnot, and they would like have you blindfolded for the entire day and you would be doing like service like things like you'd be sweeping like cleaning the fucking dishes and all blindfolded. And so they had you blindfolded the entire day, and in order to get around the campus there was two people graduating when I did it. There's usually like a group of like 10 or 12 or more graduating at a time, but I was one of the last people I was the last person to graduate. Me and Pat Garvey were the last people to graduate from Spring Creek Lodge before it got shut down or whatever. The last people to graduate. That doesn't mean that the program shut down right away. It's just we were the last people to actually be able to graduate from
Yeah,
Spring
yeah.
Creek. And so there was two of us, and to get around the facility, they would be like, "Hey, over here, follow my voice," but you're blindfolded. And so you have to like walk, and that's how you get around the facility, and you do chores and like service to others type things. And then they had this like process where they fucking had us read out loud, like they had us our parents write these letters as if we had passed away. And they were like, "I'm so sorry that I wasn't able to help you," and you had to read that out loud in front of everybody, and like it was like the fucking death process or whatever. And then like at the end of it, all of that, then they had like the entire facility line up in like a line, like just like me facing another person facing this way, so it's just like a line and then another person facing the line. And then he'd be at the top of the line and they just like say, "Okay, lean back." You remember like the fucking "I'm ready to fly" shit and fucking Focus where they lift you up? It's the same kind of shit, but they crowd surf you down to the end of the fucking like the thing, and then there's like people that are allowed to huddle around you and say, "Hey, thanks for this," da 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 da. And it's a really emotional process. It was actually one of the coolest processes I ever did for in the program, but you have to fucking graduate to experience that. But
Yeah.
yeah, so it seems that my facility was the only people because I've asked so many people like, "Did you do like a graduation ceremony?" And they're like, "No." It's crazy that it was like very unique to the place I went, but
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder why they chose that only for there. It kind of seems like a final nail in the indoctrination coffin that they were trying to do with everybody. That's my interpretation of it.
Yeah, they would also tell you like you're gonna die if you like leave, and if you do drugs, like you're gonna die. Like if you fucking all this shit, you're gonna die if you don't follow what we told you. Um, did
Sounds right. Yeah,
yeah.
similar things here.
Do you remember the lifeboat process and focus when they had you like guided meditation and they're like bang, and then all of a sudden now the ship's sinking and you have to
Yeah,
like yeah
yeah, yeah. And I remember we all had to go around a circle and say who gets to live or die. You
yeah
die, you live. Yeah, that just seemed like a way to pit us against each other. It didn't seem constructive at all to me. So I never understood it. It was kind of wicked and sick.
yeah. Did you save a lifeboat for yourself, or did you even think that you could do that? I didn't even know I could vote for myself.
No, I didn't. I didn't think I could vote for myself because they never said anything like that. So I never thought to select that option, and I just remember it. It would cut me so deep when some people would say, "Do you die?" And then there was also one where it was where you had to say if whoever we all went around in a circle, and it was you're a taker or you're a giver, or and we had to tell people why they were a big taker or a giver. And I remember I was trying so hard to just get out of there. I'd say anything to just get out of there. Um, and I remember only one person called me a taker, and they said it's because you take from yourself with your people pleasing. Is like, yeah, it's totally true. I'll say anything to get the hell out of here. And yeah, definitely. Like, I do. At that point, like, I went from being this really aggressive kid who was in reaction mode from all the bullying and all the abuse at my house to like, it broke my spirit being there. And I became like a totally submissive, like, people pleaser, like just wanting to get out and not cross anybody that would vote me down or give me bad feedback. And then the therapist would reprimand me, or a staff would someone tell on me to a staff. It's just like on high alert all the time because I was there basically being falsely imprisoned, and
Yeah,
this breaks a person down.
yeah. Um, did you ever drop from like a high level, or did you like have pretty much a steady program without dropping?
Yeah, yeah, I did drop. I did
Okay.
drop. And a couple times I think. And it was is really poignant. And here's the thing. I don't even remember what I did to deserve being dropped, if anything. It truly might not have been anything. All I remember is the way I felt so horrified and so scared by what happened. So Ron June, he was known for being a really explosive, a mean, cruel therapist. I mean, basically, when you were going to North Campus, it's a great thing. Like you're moving up and you're going to a lesser restrictive place. That's good, but you better hope you don't get Ron June. I got Ron June, and I got dropped because he told me to write a 10,000 word essay about something. I don't remember what the hell it was. So I frantically was writing this fucking essay. And it was really hard to do, to write that many words. And it couldn't be fluffy. It had to be like centered on the issue and be vulnerable and get down to the deep shit. Like you need to examine this and change before you go home. So I did it. Like I got to the 10,000 words. I did it. I presented my stupid essay at the group therapy in front of everybody. He exploded on me. He threw this thing up in the air, all these like papers, these that I wrote on,
Yeah.
screaming at me in my face, yelling. I can't even remember what he said. I just remember being terrified and ashamed because I was made an example in front of the whole group, just having this guy scream in my face. I was crying and ashamed, and I just had to sit there and take it. And so I learned nothing from that. Nothing. All I remember is just being horrified and devastated, traumatized yet again. Trauma on top of trauma. There.
Yeah. Um, did they ever like threaten you with sending you to Jamaica or anything like that? Or
Oh
the
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I got threatened with that very early on, by Ron Garrett. He said, "Well, we could send you to Jamaica where there are no child protection laws. We could send you to Mexico. You have no rights." Things like that. So I was threatened with that. Later, I did come to find out that my mother had stated something to me that she didn't opt for me to leave the country. Like that was her one thing that they couldn't do, is send me out of the country. So I found that out later, but at the time I didn't know. And I mean, there would be girls coming back from those high impact places like Casa by the Sea and Tranquility Bay who had horrifying stories of physical abuse and um, absolute torment in the form of physical activity that was forced for hours and having to do planks, and worse. I remember a girl coming into my room because we had bunk beds and on the girls' side, and we were grouped into rooms together. And it was so strict that even if there was a spot on the mirror, you got a category and deducted points and whatever. So she tried to avoid saying anything that would get her in big trouble.
Hmm.
Because of course all freedom of speech was out the window. Like you're stifled. You can't be saying stuff, certain things. But yeah, I was threatened with that. Um, yeah, it was, and even worse things happened than threats there, that's for sure.
Was there any staff members or students that tried to do anything like weird or sexual with you, or just like grooming or anything like that? Now that you look back on it, any weird shit?
I don't recall any like sexual advances or witnessing any overt grooming from staff in a sexual way. I did witness really inappropriate comments from a staff member to a young female. I remember this elderly male staff told this girl, and I don't want to say her name just
Yeah,
because,
it's fine.
but he said to this girl, and I remember it for some reason, this I remember clear as day. There's certain things that stick with you. But he told her, he's like, "Hey, it smells in here. Why don't you close your legs?" So this girl, and she's just sitting there minding her business, and this is really inappropriate.
Yeah. Did that happen just like once, or did you hear comments like that regularly in the program?
Only one time that I can recall, but it,
Okay.
it may be, could be more. There's a lot that I really blocked out because it's really traumatizing.
Okay. And what was the hardest part about of being there? And how did you deal with it when you were in the program?
The hardest part, oh God, there were so many. It's really hard to pick.
You can pick more than one.
Okay. So just the complete fucking isolation and the complete fucking control and false imprisonment to where you can't say certain things in your letters to your parents. There's no way. They're looking at all your letters. They're reading them. They say they're not reading them. They're reading them. They're looking at every line of them to see if you're manipulating to get out. Everything was manipulating. It was just this, it was like being in a pressure cooker in hell. So you're in a pressure cooker, but you're also in hell, hell
Yeah.
on earth. That place was hell on earth. Um, so just that endless false imprisonment and inability to speak your mind. And one of the worst things I had to experience there was when I got there. I had a meeting with my therapist and Corey, and he said, he was asking why was I acting out in such ways, why am I getting in all this trouble, and I told him, I'm like, I'm getting abused by my parents. I don't fit in at school. I got beat down by my mom, beat down by my dad. Told all these horrible things that I was worthless, ungrateful, a slut, whatever. You know, and he looked at me in the eye and he said, "No, they didn't. No, they didn't. Like, how the fuck can you say that? Like, yes, they did. Like, it's been reported to CPS. Like, and it happened. And so to be gaslit that hard and completely restrained, is the worst, most debilitating powerlessness a person can have. Like, because it was like being falsely accused. Like, at that point, I'm being told, like, no, you're just a fuck up because you're a fuck up. And they
Yeah.
did nothing to you.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Denying things that happen at home is something I hear very frequently. And it's like,
Yeah.
how the fuck would you even know you weren't there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it truly, honest to God, it happened. And I'll never get over it. There's some of my earliest memories is the shame that I would get for minor things I'd even do. You know, I'd do something minor like not eat all my hot dogs that I asked my mom to buy, and I'd get told I was the worst kid, that they were ashamed of me, that I was a bad, rotten kid. Like just awful. Not even discipline, just total emotional abuse. You know.
Yeah. Um, did you do you remember if any of your school credits transferred when you got out?
Yeah, some of them did. Some of them did,
Yeah.
but I was a middle schooler. So
Yeah.
like I don't think it was as stringent for middle school
Yeah.
credits, you know. But I did have to, and I looked at my transcripts to verify this before talking with you because I couldn't remember. But yeah, I had a lot of credits come from there for middle school. It was for ninth grade. Um and then but I was really behind academically, even though I was a naturally a smart kid with good aptitude. You know, I didn't get good education there because I was being put on the fucking desert process where I couldn't even talk to a teacher. So like a lot of those grades that I had my A's and B's there were bullshit easy classes that no one was even teaching me anything. I was reading books by myself and whatever. So a lot of it I think was illegitimate, and then I had to attend like a transition center to be able to go back into regular high school at the school district because I was behind on stuff.
Okay.
So it wasn't a smooth transition back academically. There were some pitfalls I had to face.
Okay. And how old were you when you got out?
15. So went in at 13, 15 when I left.
Okay. And do you remember them setting up like a home contract for you when you got back home that you were supposed to follow or you get sent back? You remember that?
Yeah, I do. I had a home contract, and there was all this stuff in it like these are your A friends. If your friends behave like this,
Yeah.
they're the A group. And if they're this, they're a B friend. And there's C friends. And then D friends you can never have. And there was also a thing that was encouraged to do as a last resort. If shit hit the fan and everything was falling apart, you needed to do what was called a rap session with your family. And they gave us these glitter wands to take home. They were these little clear wands, and you had to pass, whoever was holding the wand was the one to talk, and no one could talk if you had the stupid wand. Um, Definitely shit hit the fan and fell apart, but we never once did that rap session or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was how terrifying was it? Were you always afraid that you were going to get sent back, especially because you were under 18? Like,
Oh God, yeah. Yes, yes. And that was a lot of the turmoil that occurred when I got home, was that I was so terrified of going back. I would have nightmares and wake up in the middle of the night thinking that someone was in my room again, or have dreams about that fucker Ron Garrett. You know, like he was such a bully. I mean, I remember when I had first got there, he took away my name. They wouldn't even let me be called by my fucking name. My nickname that I had all growing up was Rainy. And my name's Lorraine. It was short for, you know, Lorraine. It was Rainy. That was my identity. He said, "Nope, you can't be called that anymore. Nope, you can't be called that anymore. You're Lorraine. That's too much of a baby name." It's like, what? They took that away. I remember they do stuff like that all the time. Like I remember this other young lady came in a little older than me. She stated that she had schizoaffective disorder diagnosed, right? A
yeah,
clinician diagnosed her. They told her it was fake. She had a panic attack while they were berating her upon first arrival, and they just laid into her and shamed the hell out of her. I remember she boiled over in shame, and they just told her that she didn't have that disorder, and she was coming off all her meds. And and who the fuck are they to decide that? Ron Garrett's no doctor. He's no psychiatrist. He's gonna he's gonna debate the entire DSM and a professional who gave her this diagnosis. Like, that is completely absurd and illegal, I would imagine.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. Um, okay, so what happened when when you went home? Any struggles with like hard drugs or anything like that? Or what was the hardest thing about coming home?
Oh shit. So there was a honeymoon period initially when I came home. Everything great, so happy to be home. Like,
Yeah.
wow, I could go to the refrigerator and I could eat. I could have food whenever I want. This is so nice.
Yeah.
you know, Anything. I could see my dogs. I'm a big dog lover. I'm all about pets. It was great. And then not too long into things, everything started falling apart, and I didn't start running into hard drugs or anything like that. um what ended up happening was escalation between my family members. Like, I had already come from a dysfunctional family,
Yeah.
and basically, with them sending me away, they're making me the proverbial identified patient or scapegoat, when really everybody had stuff that was going on. My brother had issues that was going on. My parents obviously had issues, possibly narcissism going on. They were certainly abusive. But, you know, I kind of lost my train of thought. But to be sent there, you know, and then come back to the same setting where the only one sort of changed, just maybe me,
Yeah.
debatable.
Yeah.
I was just saying whatever to get the hell out of there. We couldn't even get to the real issues while I was there because they denied anything happened to me. So, yeah, it fell apart fast. I ended up being threatened with foster care. My parents said, they wish they had dogs and not me. They didn't. They had regretted having me as a baby, didn't want me. They were going to put me in foster care. But I got very fortunate because my grandmother and my grandfather, who rest in peace, rest their souls, they took me in. So they took me in. I was, I think, about 16 or about to turn 16. They took me in, and I stayed with them and did high school. And I did graduate high school by the skin of my teeth through all of that. But yeah, my parents were super harsh. Like, they would exaggerate things that were mistakes that I'd do. Like, I remember I got in trouble. This was the thing, that the straw that broke the camel's back. They said that all the time in the program. But I had a boy in my room when my parents weren't home yet, and we weren't doing anything. And he wasn't even in my room, actually. He was downstairs, and I was in my room just doing my hair, getting ready to leave, because that was the plan that I had permission to do, is that we were going to go to the park, and I had permission for that. But where I went so wrong was that I let him in the house, and he stayed downstairs while I was doing my hair and finishing up to go. Well, my parents walked in, and my brother was home from the Navy. He's older than me by 4 years. And my dad fucking laid into me. He's real reactive like that. Get out. You're kicked out. Get the fuck out. And so I was kicked out just for that. It wasn't drugs. It wasn't sex. Nothing. It was like a really benign misstep, I feel. So, and that was common in my household. Like, a minor misstep would be exaggerated and blown out of proportion. Like, I was called a blasphemer, and I'm an atheist now. I was brought up Catholic, but I was called a blasphemer because my friends and I watched some damn movie, The Craft, and did some silly spell we saw from that. We were kids, and I was I was called blasphemous. And then there was a time I burnt a bag of popcorn on accident, and my dad went and told my therapist I was committing arson at the house. Like, things like that all the time.
Okay. Okay. And what did you struggle with? What have you struggled with the most as a result of being sent to Cross Creek?
Ah, there's a laundry list. I could unfold an Egyptian scroll for you. Like, you know, uh, the main thing is, trying to come back out and initially reintegrating in society.
Yeah.
you can't come back out in the society and talk about your depression and open up about deep issues that we were forced to constantly incessantly talk about while we were there, or else you're in trouble, you're being
Yeah.
surfacey and you're not showing up, so I came out of that program and I was talking all this therapy talk all the time as a 15-year-old kid in high school. That wasn't accepted. Like that's not something that other kids are going through that they're wanting to talk about. They're wanting to talk about South Park and hobbies and whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm in there talking about like, yeah, I want to open up to you and be vulnerable about this situation. It's like that's such an awkward way to behave, but I was conditioned that way.
Yeah.
Like yeah, and I mean, there were other things, my self-esteem just completely in the shitter. I mean, being told you're a liar. I had such horrendous acne, and I had to go on medication a few times for it because it was so severe cystic acne that's actually pretty genetic. My brother had it, my dad had it. So in the program, that was something that got targeted about me, and I was told that I had it because I was such a liar, and that I was doing such bad things, and that's why I looked that way. It was some kind of like, they didn't say karma, they didn't say things like that because they were super Mormon. And they
Yeah.
didn't, believe in that type of dogma, but like they would say stuff like that and throw it in my face, literally. And so yeah.
Okay. And have you ever tried to talk to your parents about how it affected you being there?
Yeah,
Or
yeah. Oh, many times. So actually that's like the last thing we ever talked about. So about a year ago, I became 100% estranged from my parents. We don't talk. That's the end. And they, on no uncertain terms, are clear that the door is closed. They want nothing to do with me. And it's because we had a series of things go down. This family of mine has never been good at all with conflict resolution. It's either you're out or you're in. The bridge is burned and you're fucked or you're great. Like you're one or the other. And so what happened was a lot of things came to a head. I was in the third trimester of my pregnancy um, when my dad started bullying me. He was sending me all these threatening messages about my grandmother who raised me, who was living with them and had lived with me for a short time. And I was caring for her, threatening to put her in a home and threatening to send her dog to the Humane Society, which I am totally against. I'm a complete dog lover and I'll save a dog. I mean, I'll save a turtle in the street. I'm an animal lover. So,
yeah.
I don't want to, I'll try to spare some of the gory details and summarize it as best I can. But so many things happened, so many things escalated. I invited my mom back into my life during a hurricane. I live in Florida, so we get hurricanes every season. I invited them even after they had taken back all my unborn son's toys after a conflict about vaccines, and the way they were treating my grandmother. They were getting evacuated from their home, so I invited them to come here, and I extended the olive branch, like, hey, you can evacuate here, be safe and whatever. And it seemed like maybe things would go okay. And a couple times my mom came over, helped me watch my son. And here's where it happened. So the program documentary came out about that time, right? And I watched it, and it was so liberating, so incredibly liberating, because I remember being that little kid stuck in that place thinking there would never be any sort of justice and we just had to survive it and get the hell out. And then getting to the point where thinking it was deserved and like this was okay, like this was how things were and it was okay, like starting to be normalized into it and indoctrinated. Well, that came out, and I wanted to share that with them. Like, hey, I had brought this up times before, and you guys kind of weren't believing me or brushing me off. But this documentary came out on Netflix, and I brought that up, and they were not open. They're just like, no, that's why you're even, having a conflict with us at all. I blame that documentary. Is something that my father said to my husband, is that he blamed this documentary coming out for these conflicts we were beginning to have again. And it was like, no, like I'm trying to tell you. And so I in that moment, I came out to my mother and I was like, look, Mom, they physically abused me there. I was in a seminar, okay? And I got pushed into the ground, my acne covered face, pushed into the ground by this large woman, Jan, a facilitator. I mean, my head mashed in. It's a beating. It's a physical beating. Getting told like, yeah, and it was so weird. Like she's like suppressing me and restraining me down, pushing my head down, and my face is bleeding because I got all this acne that's like already inflamed, and so it's bleeding, and just gory acne. And I didn't even remember that until many years later, like in my 20s, because I'd shut it out so much. And it was when it happened, like the room was dark. And I think we were beating towels on the ground or something at the time, but I was the one that got picked to get my head slammed. And so I tried to tell my mom, and she was just like, gaslighting 101. Well, you were going to kill yourself. I had no other options. It was either that or you kill yourself. And I'm like, that's a false dichotomy. Like there had to have been other options. And I was left there for so long, and you didn't come check on me. I was there so long and this happened. And she's like, well, they seemed really loving when I dropped you off there. It's like, well, of course they did. And Ted Bundy was a nice guy until you got in his car too. Like, are you kidding? It was just like monstrous, like ignorant sounding stuff was her defense. And she said the whole like, oh, there's no child book for raising kids that you get. There's no guidebooks. Like, sure there are. I got one from the hospital when I birthed my son. What do you mean? She's like, well, we did the best we could. I'm like, well, I guess your best didn't work. And then she looks me in the eye. I'm holding my little infant son. He was about 4 months old. She says, well, I guess I should have let you kill yourself. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? You just said that, and I'm holding my son. He wouldn't be here. She doubles down and is like, yeah, yeah. And none of this other strife in the family would happen. And I was just like, well, fuck you, bitch. You're fucking weak and you never did take accountability. And that was it. That was the end of it.
Okay. So, do you think you could ever forgive your parents, or is it just like you're just like agree to disagree?
You know, this is
Or
hard.
my thing is, I'll forget. I forgive, but I'm not gonna forget.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Maybe I could get to your point at some stage. I'm in therapy. I'm in EMDR. I go to a psychiatrist because I know I've got problems. I've got diagnoses that we're working through, and I know this program had a lot to do with it. It only compounded the existing problems I had, and worsened them, exacerbated and created new issues. But with my parents, so much more even occurred. I mean, they turned my grandmother against me on her literal deathbed. She went into hospice, and they did everything they could to separate me from her. I didn't get to say goodbye. So they've really taken so much from me, and it here's the thing. It would mean the world to me if they could just come around and say, "Look, we put you in that place. We didn't know what else to do. We had no idea it was going to turn out the way it did, and we're sorry, and we believe you." Like, if they could say that, it would mean the world. But the fact that it's thrown back at me like that, and I'm just told that I should have just killed myself then, what do you do with that? I tried.
Yeah, yeah, and it's totally fine to not forgive. I was just curious where you were.
Yeah, yeah. I'd love to, because I miss having a family. I'm so isolated. It's just my husband, my dog, and my son and I. And when you have a baby, I mean, it's hard to take care of a baby, and there's so much involved that no one can prepare you for until you're in it. And I'd give anything to have a family support net for him too, for those adults in his life, like loving grandparents like that I have. I'd love that in my life, but they're not willing. And despite my olive branches and so many times I've taken the blame for stuff that really wasn't all me, it's just like, it's such a losing battle, and I wish
Yeah,
it could be different.
yeah. If you could go back in time, if you could go back in a time machine and not go through Cross Creek knowing what you know now, would you do it and why?
Oh, fuck yeah. I would never visit Cross Creek. If I could go back in time and never go there and just be a kid who stuck my head down and did my homework and joined the military at 18 to escape my parents, would totally switch that game plan up. And yeah, I think Cross Creek is, or was, it's shut down, it's defunct. Way too damaging. It's way too damaging during the formative years. Obviously, I got physically abused there, psychologically tormented, you name it.
Yeah. Okay. And what do you think would have helped you instead of being sent away?
Pardon me, I need to take a sip of water. I've thought about this because there's definitely something that needed to happen. I was certainly going down the wrong path. What would have helped is if my parents if my parents would have turned around their behavior and started treating me with respect and using more positive parenting rather than beatings and shame and yelling. That would have been number one. Number two, some evidence based practice. I mean, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. And with as severe as my stuff got, as severe as my issues were, being kicked out of school, getting in trouble with police, starting fires, starting fights, being violent, starting to get into drugs. I just got into a little bit of weed, but nothing hard. I would have had I had the chance though. Even if they would have put me in like a residential treatment center that wasn't so damn drastic. I mean, that's drastic as fuck to go for over a year, be sent there, can't talk to your parents for literal months at all, have all of your letters looked at. Like, that's just too drastic, too insane, too abusive, way abusive. So, something evidence based, lacking abuse, where I could actually talk with them and we could work through the real things and not just deny everything and blame me, that would have been effective. Because I mean, look at me now. I'm not a total shithead. I work a job. I have a family. I own a home. I'm a functioning adult in society. Granted, I've got some issues. I'm working on them.
Yeah. Okay. Um, well, is there anything else you want people to know about your experience or anything that you might tell a parent thinking about sending their kid to a place like this?
Yes. Do not send your kid to a place like that. Just don't. It will break your relationship with them irretrievably. It will ruin their formative years, which is the foundation of their whole life. I mean, look at me. I'm 37 and this happened to me in my adolescence and I live with it every day of my life. It affects the way I interact. It affects my relationships. I still struggle to this day to maintain healthy friendships. I'm estranged from my whole family. It's absolutely catastrophic to send your kid to a place like that. You, to any parent considering that, I urge you, as a nurse, as a professional, and as a person who's been there and came out alive and okay and functioning, find another option and listen to your kid. Try listening to them. It works wonders for a person to just be heard and to feel like they have worth and belonging. Another thing I'd like to say about that place is they were really, really abusive to kids who were homosexual, really suppressing that, which I 100% am against. They were really oppressive with religion. That's not okay to me, and I don't think in civilization that should be okay at all, especially this day and age. To push certain religions on people, to force indoctrinations into people. I want it to be known that they did do rape reenactments there, that were supposed to be therapeutic. It was anything but. It was totally, absolutely, unequivocally wrong to do. They would, by they I mean the staff and therapists, did a rape reenactment on a young girl where they turned on a song that she had been raped to in front of all of us girls in this group. And we were part of the process. We had to be part of that process, and they tormented her with this reenactment. My memory of it is hard to take, because I hadn't been sexually abused leading up to that, so it was pretty horrible to witness this way that they were torturing her that way with this rape reenactment. And then they had her release a balloon into the sky, like that was supposed to liberate everything. And then there were other things where another girl was shamed for having had an abortion, and there was another reenactment like that with horrendous videos that were scary and scarring. So their approach was all wrong. It was nothing but punitive, bigoted, and sick.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. If you ever want to do a part two, just take some notes about what you want to talk about, and we will make that happen. And if you've watched so far in the video, please make sure you like the video, subscribe if you're not already, hit the notification bell, leave a comment down below, and share, share, share. Let's get the word out there about these places. Thank you guys so much, and we will catch you on the next one. Hold on a second.
Thank you.